welcome! In today's video I'm going to do an update on my quilt cover sewing progress. I've recently started making my own clothes using the fabric from quilt cover sets. I've already filmed a couple of videos of the first few items I made, but since then I have continued sewing more and more garments using the fabric from quilt covers. I found it a cost-effective way of making lovely new clothes. I'm going to jot down the various costs of materials and prices that I quote so I can add them up at the end of the video and see how much I've already spent. And how much I've spent is very relevant to the purpose of this project. I started using quilt cover fabric to make my own clothes because it was a cheaper way of acquiring large volumes of beautiful fabric than actually going to the fabric store and buying meters or yards off the roll. So how much I've spent and how much it's cost to make my various items of clothing are very relevant. The first fabric that got me inspired on my journey was this beautiful green and pink palm leaves. On the reverse of this fabric there are leopards in the jungle, but this palm leafy side is the one that first got me incentivized, and I wanted to make a dress with it. This double quilt cover of 14 English pounds. I am aware that recently, only a couple of months since I started sewing, the same quilt cover set now costs about £17. The prices of the quilt cover sets have gone up dramatically in the past few weeks. So I was lucky and got in early before the prices went up. But I'm sure the cost of clothing will also be going up. So even if you're starting your quilt cover sewing journey now, I'm sure it'll still be a cost-effective venture. So with my lovely palm and leopard quilt cover, a double quilt cover, 2 meters by 2 meters on each side, so a nice big sheet of fabric. I made my first long flowy summery dress. I also made a little hair scrunchie to go with it, and I made a video about making it. If you haven't seen it and would like to watch that video, I'll put a link in the description below. Make it easy for you to find it. With the reverse leopardy side of it, I made basically the same dress but not quite as long, just below the knee instead of down to the floor. And I also made a scrunchie. I had enough fabric left over and have since made a waistcoat with my leopard fabric, which I'm really loving, along with all of the things I have made so far. Oh, can I get it on? There we go. So I've been all the way around. Actually goes quite well with the clothes I'm wearing today. Also with this particular quilt cover set, as well as my 2 dresses and 2 scrunchies and waistcoat, I had the 2 pillowcases that came with the quilt cover. I've used those to make cushion covers for my downstairs chairs, and that because this particular fabric and pattern goes really well with the colour scheme of that room. So that particular quilt cover has been really productive and I've got lots of things from it. The next quilt cover that caught my eye, I'll just take my waistcoat off actually. There we go. The next quilt cover that caught my eye was more expensive. It's 100% cotton rather than a cotton polyester, which makes it a bit more pricey, and also it's a slightly thicker, heavier fabric. And I did write it down. I think this cost me 26. Yeah, so this was £26. So this butterfly pattern fabric was the one that inspired me, and it also came with a different butterfly pattern on the back. And I haven't used the back yet, but I have used the front and made work together to make a dress or use them as separate items of clothing. So I made both the skirt and the top with the one side of the butterfly quilt cover. And I still have all the fabric left over, 2 meters by 2 meters from the reverse of that quilt cover. I plan to make some sort of blousey shirt with this. I actually rather like, if I can open it up there, I quite like the inside, the reverse of this fabric. There we go. It's got a sort of pale washed out denim-y look to it. So I might actually end up using this butterfly fabric inside out because it's still nice and soft and smooth on this side. So each time I visit the shops, I'm checking out the quilt cover section to see if anything catches my eye. And lo and behold, it did. Going up in price and more expensive yet again. I got this beautiful navy blue velvety cover. It's quite heavy and weighty. Sorry, it's more pricey. It cost me £35 and I am aware it has gone up in price to £40, a massive jump. But again, a double quilt cover, so I have 2 sheets of fabric, one this lovely crushed velvet, which you may have noticed I'm already wearing today, and the reverse of it was this much smoother navy blue, a finer fabric, very much suited, I think, to a man's dress shirt or a woman's. So I'm not sure what I'm going to make with this yet. So with this thick, heavy, velvety fabric, I've used half of it and one of its pillowcases to make the long skirt that I'm wearing today. I don't know if I can back up enough to see the bottom. It goes all the way to the floor. And I used the one of the pillowcases to make this big deep waistband for this skirt. I didn't use a pattern. I just took a big, long width of fabric and gathered it all up and stitched it into the waistband to give me this pleated, flowy skirt that I have pretty much been living in since the slightly cooler autumn days are here, and it is so comfy and feels so lovely because it's all silky and velvety. And I still have half of my velvety fabric left. Very suitable for another waistcoat or a jacket. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. I don't have a plan for this half, but I'm very happy to have it in my fabric stash. I'm sure something will come to mind. So having used one of the pillowcases from this velvety quilt cover set to make the waistband on the skirt I'm wearing today, I used the second pillowcase to make a cover for 2 chair pad cushions. I've got these thin chair pads, so I took the second pillowcase and I have literally stuffed 2 of those cushions in it, stuffed my 2 chair pads in, one on top of the other to give me a nice thick cushion. This room has blue carpets and blue trim on the curtains, blue trim on the paintwork. So this navy blue goes really well in here, and it gives me a nice comfy seat to sit on while I carry on sewing. So although I haven't used a sewing pattern for my summer dresses or my skirt, having done lots of sewing years ago in the past, these were basic enough to manage. I did buy a sewing pattern to make the little jackety top that goes with my butterfly dress. Also amended this pattern to give me the front and back panels to make the waistcoat with. I paid $10.99 on eBay to buy my pattern, and I already have that written down on my list of costs. and I do find that patterns tend to feel quite expensive, but I know I'm going to be able to use this pattern time and time again to make more and more future clothes. So next I was looking to make some kind of shirty blousey top, and went and got some seersucker. How much did I pay? £17. So I've got this scrunchy seersucker, and again it matches the top I'm wearing. So I made this top with the seersucker fabric and still have most of the reverse. I used a little bit to trim around the edges at the neckline and the bottom of these little puffy sleeves. I paid £17 for my seersucker quilt cover set. I am aware, I think it now costs about £20. And at the time when I bought that, I bought two, because I also bought this one, which I plan to make the same sort of summery blousey top with. But I decided to try it on the white first, because I wouldn't be overly upset if I messed up, made a mistake, or didn't like it, or had to adjust patterns. This was my prettier fabric that I didn't want to be spoiling, making mistakes. So I've kept this for the second one. Now I know I like this. I know how I'm constructing it and making it. So that'll be the next project on my sewing list, making another top like this with my pattern seersucker, which was also £17. Now to make this top, I did invest in a second sewing pattern, and this one was £7.35 with post and packing from eBay. It's a very old pattern, I can tell that from the browned out condition of its envelope, but it came complete and uncut. So although it's old, it's never been used before. Now the reverse of that really pretty seersucker with the flowers on it that I like is also a beautiful fabric. It's smooth and flat, and it's this lovely pastel blue with these white flower templates on it. I think again this will make a really nice top or shirt. And as if I don't already have enough fabrics, the other day I saw this beautiful one, and as I'm after blousey, shirty, summery tops, I just had to have it. Now this was very cheap at only £12, and the reason it was only £12 is it's actually a single bed sheet. No, it's not. It's a single duvet cover, quilt cover. They didn't have it in a double, or I would have bought the double one. It just wasn't available. There was only a single cover left. Now I'm not so keen on the reverse pattern of this fabric. It's a very nice fabric and it's a perfectly good pattern. It's just not my style. But at £12, if I only get one summery blouse, it's still good value for money. So my last quilt cover and sewing project for today is this pink and grey that cost me the bargain price of £10, and I'm not at all sure why it was so cheap. Maybe they made a mistake. But £10 it was marked and £10 I paid. Again, not sure what I'm going to do with the grey side. This pink is what caught my eye. I like this slightly dark grey pink, and I'm into making shirty blousey tops and thought that would be perfect. And it is indeed perfect, because here is my latest sewing project, still a work in progress. So I'm making a blousey shirt. It still needs buttons and buttonholes, and I've not fully decided if I'm going to give it a sleeve or whether I'll finish it without sleeves. I've got a couple blousey shirts with no sleeves and I rather like them. So I think I might go sleeveless on this. I've not quite finished it. As I say, it needs buttons and buttonholes. And I also need to finish understitching, oh, I'm all pinned up there. I need to finish understitching the back of the collar. So this has been my latest work in progress. So my one blousey shirt, if I don't add sleeves, I've only used half of one side of the quilt cover. So I still have the other half of this pink to use to make another style of top. And I also have all of the grey. So that's been my sewing progress so far. Let's add up the prices and see how much I've spent. Well, I've added it all up, and so far I've spent £131 on quilt covers to start off my sewing journey. I've also spent £23 on sewing patterns. Oh, I nearly forgot. I did actually pay £5 on eBay yet again to buy a shirt pattern that I've used as a starting point for making my pink shirt. And I'm sure I will use again and again, turning the rest of this fabric into more shirts and tops. So this has been added to my price list. So all in all, I've purchased, oh, it's upside down, there we go, 3 different sewing patterns so far. At the grand total of £23.34. If I look after them and take care of them, I'll be able to use my sewing patterns multiple times. The garments can look different just by adding different fabrics and either putting on a sleeve where there wasn't one or not having a sleeve, changing the shape of a neckline. You can make lots of little alterations to a pattern which gives you a very different looking finished result. So in total, all added together with my fabric and my sewing patterns, I've spent £154 on fabric and patterns, and I'm quite happy to round that up to £160 because I've also bought some reels of cotton to help me stitch this all together. I did already own a sewing machine. So what have I got for my money so far? A skirt, a top, a waistcoat, 2 dresses, another shirt, a summery blousey top, a big long swishy winter skirt, 2 cushion covers, 3 cushion covers because I've made one for my sewing room chair, and lots of fabric still to make lots more lovely clothes with. Keep me busy through the cold winter days. So not bad. What a couple of hair scrunchies. I always forget about those. So not bad. If I went off to the shops with £160 in my wallet, I'm not sure I'd manage to buy this many items of clothing. And they certainly wouldn't fit as perfectly. So that's my sewing journey so far. Here I am back a couple of days later, and I finished stitching up my pink blousey shirt. I decided to go with no sleeves on this top because I like it that way. So I've put a contrasting trim around the armhole that matches with my contrasting collar and buttonhole strip. To get this contrasting fabric, I've just turned my pink fabric inside out. So this contrasting trim on the buttons, the armholes and the collar is exactly the same pink fabric, just constructed inside out. It gives a bit more interest and detail to the finished garment. So that's the blouse, all done and ready to wear. Wearing it. And I've also been busy and made this second blousey, flowy, summery top. Woo. It needs a little bit of hand sewing. I'm still pinned up around this neckband and on its sleeve cuffs. So I shall sit and stitch them in by hand this evening while this video uploads to the internet. The next job on my sewing journey, I'm going to make this top again with the same flowery seersucker fabric, but this time I'm going to use the back fabric from my original butterfly quilt, and I'm going to use it in reverse because this is the back of that butterfly fabric, this lovely pale denim-y blue. So I'm going to use this fabric to create the trim around the edge of my next flowy seersucker summery top, because it contrasts very nicely with the blue that's in these flowers, and I think that will make a very nice trim for the edge of this blouse and give me two slightly different but similar tops. This also goes very nicely with my blue skirt that even a couple of days later I'm still wearing because I love it. So that's it for today. All stitched up. And we'll see you next time. And remember, whatever you're doing, have fun doing it. Bye for now. If you've enjoyed today's video, don't forget to click that like button and let me know. Click subscribe and YouTube will make sure you see my next video. So bye for now, and we'll see you next time. And don't forget, whatever you're doing, have fun doing it.